The world watched with bated breath as the Israeli Navy intercepted the final vessel of the global Flotilla, a moment that would quickly become a defining flashpoint in the ongoing debate over humanitarian access to Gaza. The interception, which played out in real time across international news networks and social media, was not just a military maneuver but a dramatic episode that captured the attention of governments, activists, and ordinary citizens worldwide. The tension was palpable as live feeds showed the Israeli Navy's approach, and the subsequent boarding of the vessel was a scene that would be replayed countless times in the days to come. The global Flotilla, a coalition of activists, aid workers, and political figures, had set sail from Barcelona with a singular, urgent mission: to deliver desperately needed humanitarian aid to the people of Gaza, who have endured years of hardship under a strict maritime blockade. The departure from Barcelona was marked by scenes of hope and determination, as volunteers from dozens of countries gathered on the docks, waving banners and chanting slogans in support of Gaza. The flotilla's journey was not just about delivering supplies, it was a symbolic act of defiance against what many see as an unjust and inhumane blockade. The atmosphere was electric, filled with a sense of purpose and solidarity as the ships embarked on their perilous journey. The mission was clear: to challenge Israel's 18-year maritime blockade, which has severely restricted the flow of goods, medicine, and aid into Gaza. The flotilla was unprecedented in scale, comprising over 40 ships and nearly 500 participants, including activists, politicians, and journalists from more than 40 countries. This diverse coalition represented a broad spectrum of backgrounds and beliefs, united by a shared commitment to humanitarian principles and the right of Gazans to receive aid. The sheer diversity of the participants underscored the universal appeal of their cause, drawing attention from media outlets around the globe. As the convoy sailed across the Mediterranean, it became the largest effort of its kind in recent memory. The sight of so many vessels, flying flags from around the world and carrying messages of solidarity was a powerful visual statement. For many, it was a reminder that the plight of Gaza is not a forgotten issue, but one that continues to inspire action and compassion across continents. The flotilla's progress was closely monitored, with updates shared widely on social media, creating a sense of global community and shared purpose. But the journey was fraught with tension and uncertainty. On October 3rd, as the flotilla neared its destination, Israeli naval forces intercepted the last remaining vessel, a Polish-flagged ship carrying a high-profile delegation. The interception took place 42.5 nautical miles from Gaza in international waters, raising immediate questions about the legality and proportionality of Israel's actions. The international community was quick to react, with legal experts and human rights organizations debating the implications of the interception. The boarding operation was swift and highly coordinated. Israeli commandos boarded the vessel under the cover of darkness, quickly taking control of the ship and detaining everyone on board. Among the passengers were internationally recognized figures such as climate activist Greta Thunberg and South African parliamentarian Mandla Mandela, whose presence brought even greater attention to the incident. The involvement of such prominent figures added a new layer of complexity to the situation, drawing even more media coverage and public interest. The detained crew and passengers were redirected to the Israeli port of Ashdod, where they were held under tight security. Israeli authorities stated that all detainees were safe and would be deported in accordance with standard procedures. However, the activists and their supporters quickly disputed these assurances, alleging mistreatment and a lack of due process. Reports of harsh conditions and limited access to legal representation began to surface, further fueling the controversy. In protest of their detention and the broader blockade, many of the activists began a hunger strike, refusing food and water until their demands for humanitarian access to Gaza were met. The hunger strike quickly became a rallying point for supporters around the world, who saw it as a courageous act of nonviolent resistance. The images of activists refusing food, holding signs, and sitting in silent protest resonated deeply with people across the globe, sparking a wave of solidarity actions. The global response to the interception was immediate and intense. Protests erupted in cities across Europe, the Middle East, and the Americas, with demonstrators demanding the release of the detainees and an end to the blockade. Social media campaigns spread rapidly, amplifying calls for international intervention and accountability. Hashtags like Free Gaza and End the Blockade trended worldwide, highlighting the widespread public support for the flotilla's mission. Governments also responded with swift diplomatic action. Colombia expelled Israel's diplomats in protest, signaling a dramatic escalation in bilateral tensions. Turkey, a longtime critic of the blockade, condemned the interception as an act of terrorism and called for immediate international sanctions against Israel. The diplomatic fallout was significant, with several countries re-evaluating their relations with Israel in light of the incident. The United Nations weighed in as well, with senior officials describing the boarding as an illegal abduction and calling for an independent investigation. Human rights organizations echoed these concerns, arguing that the interception violated international law and set a dangerous precedent for the treatment of humanitarian missions in conflict zones. The calls for an independent investigation grew louder, with many demanding accountability and transparency. The mission of the flotilla was always about more than just delivering aid. It was about drawing global attention to the worsening humanitarian crisis in Gaza. The UN has declared a state of famine in parts of the territory, with food, water, and medical supplies running dangerously low. The blockade, now in its 18th year, has left Gaza's population of over 2 million people in a state of perpetual emergency. The flotilla's interception brought renewed focus to these dire conditions, highlighting the urgent need for international intervention. Images from Gaza show the devastating impact of the blockade: destroyed homes, overcrowded shelters, and children suffering from malnutrition. Aid organizations warn that without immediate and sustained access, the situation will only deteriorate further. The intercepted flotilla was carrying not just food and medicine, but also hope for a population that has endured years of conflict and deprivation. The visual evidence of Gaza's suffering served as a stark reminder of the human cost of the blockade. Despite the interception and the detention of its participants, the spirit of the flotilla endures. In a remarkable show of resilience, a new convoy of boats has already set sail from a European harbor, determined to break the blockade and deliver aid to Gaza. Activists aboard these vessels wave from the decks, their banners calling for justice and humanitarian access. The determination of these activists to continue their mission, despite the risks, inspired many and kept the issue in the public eye. The message is clear: the push for humanitarian access to Gaza is far from over. Each new flotilla, each protest, and each diplomatic statement adds to the growing pressure on the international community to find a lasting solution to the crisis. The continued efforts of activists and the global response to their actions underscore the importance of addressing the humanitarian needs of Gaza's population. What happens next could have far-reaching implications, not just for the people of Gaza, but for the future of humanitarian aid, international diplomacy, and the very concept of blockades in modern conflict. The world is watching closely, and the choices made in the coming days and weeks will shape the course of this ongoing struggle. The outcome of this situation could set a precedent for how humanitarian missions are treated in conflict zones around the world. As diplomats meet behind closed doors, activists continue their journey, and the people of Gaza wait for relief. The story of the global Sumud flotilla serves as a powerful reminder of the enduring human cost of conflict, and the unyielding hope for a better future. The resilience and determination of those involved in the flotilla, and the global response to their mission, highlight the ongoing struggle for justice and humanitarian access in Gaza.